The woman from Sitio, Laknaw. There is a sitio far beyond the rice fields of Quezon, buried behind layers of forest, where trees grow without names and birds sing backwards, where sunlight flickers like it's being pushed away. And the people speak only when necessary. They call it Sitio Laknaw. No signs lead to it, no maps show it. But sometimes when the wind is wrong, when the prayers are weak, and the dead grow restless, it finds its way to you. That's what happened to Tomas, a young teacher from Manila sent to Laknaw as part of a provincial education program, smart, polite, skeptical of everything superstitious. He called ghost stories fantasy, and Mancuculum nothing but folklore weaponized by fear. He came with a bag of books, and a smile that cracked easily when challenged. The road to Laknaw was thin like a snake's spine. The driver refused to go beyond the last checkpoint, left him with a flashlight, and said, "Walk straight, don't talk to anyone until you reach the school." Tomas laughed, then walked through silence thicker, then night, through trees that looked like watchers, through wind that didn't move the leaves. And finally, he found the school, old wooden building, resting on stilts, a bell with no clapper, and a single lantern flickering on the porch. Beside it, the teacher's cottage, small, plain, and already unlocked. He met the headmaster that night, Mang Lotto, tall and dry like a tree struck by lightning, his eyes sharp as fishing hooks, his smile not quite right. He welcomed Tomas with rice soup and strong coffee, and warned him never go out after sundown, and never answer if someone knocks, and never touch any doll no matter how innocent it looks. Tomas said nothing. The next morning he began teaching. There were only 9 students, all quiet, all thin, all avoiding eye contact. One of them, a girl named Sari, wore 3 rosaries around her neck and stared out the window more than she blinked. The villagers watched him. They offered no food, no greetings, no warmth. They hung garlic on their doorways and swept salt across their thresholds each dusk. Some even spit when he walked by, but he brushed it off as rural oddity, until the knocking began every night. Soft knuckles on bamboo, 3 taps, never 4, never 2. He never opened the door, not until the 7th night, when he got tired of pretending to be scared. He opened it. No one there, only a small doll made of straw sitting on the doorstep, arms stretched, wide mouth stitched shut, eyes made of ash, its head tilted as if listening. He kicked it away. The next morning there was blood on the floor, shaped like a handprint, not his, not small, not large, but wrong, as if the fingers were too long and curved the wrong direction. That day Sari spoke. She said, "You shouldn't have done that." He asked why. She said, "The woman doesn't like to be ignored." He asked who. She only looked at the corner of the room and cried. Mang Lotto told him the story. That night, many years ago, there was a woman named Alipura who lived in the forest edge, known as a healer, feared as a Mancuculum, said to speak with insects and shape shadows to her will. She never aged, never prayed, never married. But once she fell in love with a man from the lowlands. He left her married a village girl. Alipura went mad, or that's what they say. She cut out her heart, sewed it into a doll, and cursed every child born under a waning moon to serve her even in death. They burned her alive, but her bones never turned to ash, her scream never faded, and her dolls still appear on doorsteps of those who forget to show respect. Tomas tried to laugh, but his mouth tasted like dirt that night. He dreamed of the woman, long hair covering her face, her body wrapped in vines, her voice like whispering ants. She showed him a doll. It had his face. He woke choking on thread. There were bruises on his chest, shaped like fingers pressing from inside. The children stopped coming to class. The trees leaned closer. The birds no longer sang. And he saw her again in daylight, standing at the edge of the schoolyard, dress made of hair, her arms covered in names carved into the skin, her feet floating, her eyes bleeding. He blinked, she vanished. He found dolls in his bed, dolls in his food, dolls tied to the blackboard, each one humming in a voice that matched someone. He loved, his mother, his brother, his old classmate who drowned when they were 13. He asked Mang Lotto what to do. Mang Lotto gave him a jar. Inside was a tongue, dry, shrunken, blackened. He said, "Bury this where the doll first appeared, or shall enter your skin, and wear your bones, and forget to give them back." He didn't believe, but he buried it deep in the soil near the school, and when he returned his room was filled with hair, thick black, woven into nets, crawling across the ceiling, spelling his name. He screamed. But no one came that night. The knocking returned, but this time it came from inside the room. And when he turned, she was there, Alipura, face pale as candle smoke, smile stretched, two wide eyes watching, but not seeing. She held a doll that breathed. She whispered, "Thank you." He dropped to the floor. The next morning he was gone. No blood, no sign of struggle, just one new doll on the porch, wearing a tiny jacket like his and eyes made of mirror slivers. The villagers said nothing. Mang Lotto cleaned the desk and burned Tomas' books. The children returned to class, and the wind once again whispered his name, soft, regretful, hungry. The curse of the hollow tooth in the middle of Negros Occidental, where sugar cane grows taller than people and carabaos sink halfway into the mud when it rains. There is a barangay called Sapling. It is not drawn on most maps, and even the locals pretend they've never lived there too long. If you ask why, they'll say it's quiet, peaceful, simple. But their eyes flick to the mountains behind them, as if remembering something buried too deep to name. In Sapling, they don't whistle after dark. They don't call each other by name when walking through the fields, and they never say the word Ngipin, especially not hollow tooth, because once you say it, She hears you even if you only whisper, even if you only think it. Emil was 19 when he came to Saplang City, boy cousin of the barangay captain sent there. After a drug bust gone wrong. His mother said it was for the best fresh air, no temptations, no distractions, just weeks of honest work and healing. He didn't argue. He brought one bag full of shirts and a phone that barely held signal. The house he stayed in was old bamboo floors, corrugated roof, rust-stained kitchen sink. Beside it sat his Lola, who never spoke above a whisper and never smiled without her rosary in hand. She told him to never go near the dried well behind the school, to never stare into the trees if they swayed without wind, and to never ever mention teeth during dinner. He laughed. Of course he was from Mandaluyong. What could a tree do to him that night? He heard it, a cracking sound like a jaw popping out of socket, like someone chewing bones too slowly, too wet. He went to the window and saw nothing. But in the reflection he saw her, a woman behind him, standing in the corner, hair long and rotted, dress made of stitched rags, her hands covering her mouth, her eyes wide and yellow, not blinking. And not sad, just hungry. He turned around fast. But the corner was empty still. The floor smelled of vinegar and old flowers, and the wood beneath his feet looked wet, like it had been crying in the morning. He told his Lola. She told him to wash with coconut oil and sleep with rice in his pockets, and said if he ever saw her again, he must bite his own tongue before she could smile at him. He said it was just a dream. Then his tooth started aching, the molar on the lower left side. It throbbed like a heartbeat, too fast, like something was alive inside it. And when he checked the mirror, he saw a hairline crack down its center, as if someone had forced something small into it. He ignored it until the second night. The sound returned, chewing, slow, wet, close. He woke up with blood on his pillow, and a clump of hair knotted around the doorknob, black hair, not his, not Lola's, longer than any woman in town. He looked in the mirror. The tooth was gone. But there was no blood, only a hollow socket where it should be, deep and dark, and too wide, almost like a tunnel. He stuck a toothpick into it, and it kept going. He dropped it and fainted. When he woke, his Lola was gone. No note, no sound. The front door wide open, and the trees outside still, not moving, not even when the wind picked up, not even when the roosters screamed. He wandered the barangay asking, but everyone avoided him, even his cousin. The barangay captain told him he should leave, told him she's awake now and she remembers. And once she has your tooth, she keeps your name inside it. He went to the dried well behind the school. It smelled of boiled blood and clay. He threw a stone in and didn't hear it land. Instead, he heard laughing, not loud, not wild, just soft and happy, like a girl playing with a new toy. That night he saw her again, not in the corner, but in his bed, lying beside him, her hands folded across her chest, her skin cold, and stretched, her mouth open revealing rows and rows of tiny teeth, not human, not baby teeth, but carved bone like shark's teeth, polished and clean. He couldn't move. She whispered, I found your tooth, I found your voice, I will wear your face next. He bit his tongue, blood filled his mouth, and he could breathe again. He crawled from the bed screaming, lighting candles and pouring salt into every crack of the room, but it wasn't enough. He found another tooth in his rice, not his black, still warm that morning. He ran to the church. Father Danilo didn't let him in, only held up a mirror and said, if she already marked you, the church cannot save you, only fire or forgetting. He tried to burn her name, but he never knew it. She never gave it, only took his piece by piece, night by night. He began forgetting words, at first small ones, then faces, then his own name. His reflection stopped moving with him, and the socket in his mouth grew wider. Once he stuck his finger into it, felt something cold bite down, pulled back, bleeding with scratches along his knuckles like fingernails clawing up from inside. He left sapling, walking for days, no direction, no food. People stared when he passed. They whispered, they prayed, they left eggs and salt where he stepped. He made it to Manila, but he doesn't remember how. He speaks in broken Tagalog, now sleeps with garlic around his neck, works night shifts, never smiles, never laughs. He wears a scarf even in heat to hide the hole in his jaw, because sometimes something whispers from it, and sometimes he whispers back, not words, just chewing, just cracking, just hunger. The third mother of Barangay, Lasang. There are places the wind avoids, places where prayers don't echo, where even the dead bury themselves deeper. That's what Barangay Lasang became after the third mother arrived. They don't say her name. They don't speak of her during daylight. And when the rain comes hard and the sky turns copper, they lock their doors and tell the children to close their eyes and cover their ears, because the third mother walks without feet and sings with no tongue, and she always comes for the forgotten ones. It started with a boy. His name was Cal, 8 years old, skin the color of roasted rice, and a voice too soft for the world. He lived with his grandmother in a hut near the marsh, and every night before sleeping he placed a toy under his pillow, a carved wood cat, missing an ear. His mother gave it to him before she vanished during a typhoon the year no one speaks about. One morning the toy was gone. In its place, a bundle of teeth wrapped in banana leaf tied with hair, and it smelled of rust and rain. That night Cal was found inside the hollow of an old balit tree, not dead, not missing, just sitting still, eyes wide, mouth sewn shut with coconut thread, his body soaked in river water. Though the river was 3 kilometers away, people said it was trauma. Others said it was the third mother. The barangay captain ordered the tree cut down, but the chainsaw broke 3 times, and the man who tried to climb it swallowed his tongue and fell with a smile frozen on his face. So they left the tree. And Cal, too, he never spoke again. Then came Alona, a teacher from Cebu, fresh assignment, first post, wanted to bring light to the rural communities, young, idealistic, wearing perfume and red lipstick. First day she asked why no one plays near the balit tree. The children looked away, the parents shook their heads. She ignored the warnings. The dream started on her fourth night. Always the same, a woman standing in water, waist deep, her hair covering her face, singing in whispers, syllables reversed like water played backward. Shed, hold a child in one hand, and a knife made of bone in the other, then vanish beneath the surface, dragging the moon with her. Alone awoke with scratches on her arms, bruises in the shape of tiny hands. She blamed insects until she saw the mud footprints across her floor, barefoot, child-sized, always ending beside her bed. She told Mang Berto, the oldest in town. He gave her a small sack of black rice, told her to scatter it in the four corners of her room, and never respond if a child knocks after midnight, even if it cries, even if it knows her name. That night the knocking came, 12 taps, slow, spaced too evenly. Then a whisper, "Mom, it's cold, Mom, let me in, I am scared." But she didn't move. She bit her tongue and cried until morning. When the sun rose, her window was smeared with blood, like someone small had pressed both hands against the glass and dragged their fingers downward slowly. That morning, the river turned black. No fish, no birds, no wind, only silence and the scent of boiled teeth. They say the third mother was once a midwife, cast out by the village for failing to save a mayor's son. They beat her with stones, burned her house, drowned her in the swamp. But she did not die, only changed her name and grew her shadow longer. And when she returned, she brought 3 gifts: a cradle made of vines, a song with no words, and a doll with no face. Whoever accepts one of the gifts must give something back, not just a limb or a lock of hair, but something that cannot be replaced, a memory, a future, a name. And she always collects. Alona lasted 2 more nights. She packed her bags and tried to leave, but every path led back to the school, back to her room, back to the mirror that now showed her with 2 faces, one hers and one smiling, where it shouldn't be. She vanished on the 7th night. Only her voice remained echoing from inside the balit tree, reciting lessons in a tone cracked like old wood. A week later, a dog was found giving birth to a baby with human eyes. No one buried it. They just placed it near the river and turned their backs. That's when people remembered the old rule. Every 50 years, a third mother must return, and a child must be chosen not for punishment, but for company, because she is lonely. She was once flesh like them, and her heart still remembers the sound of lullabies, even if her mouth no longer moves. They picked Kala again, dressed him in white, laid him by the balliet tree, sang him to sleep with candles floating in bowls of oil and salt. And when the wind passed through the leaves, it whispered thank you. And for a while Lasang was quiet, but the peace didn't last. Because one night, a stranger arrived looking for the school, asking for Alona, wearing red lipstick and smelling like rain.
If you enjoyed this terrifying story, let us know in the comments below. Hit that like button to help us bring more cursed tales and dark legends to life. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, but warn them first. And if you dare, subscribe to this channel, because here in Pinoy Phobia, the horror never ends. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next cursed story, spine-chilling folklore, or true paranormal encounter from the shadows of the Philippines. Remember, some stories are meant to be heard, but others are meant to be warnings. Thank you for watching, and remember, whatever happens, don't look back.